And I believe that the county laws suggest that it is a road.
Parvin.
Yeah.
We've said that we don't have any position about this. What are you asking, or what are you telling us about now?
Well, I think that what came out at the October 3rd meeting of the Crestone Baca Planning Commission, Bill Folk, president of the POA, said in order to approve the Cottonwood Study Group plan, which is to put a new trail up here on the south side of Crestone or Cottonwood Creek so to access the trail, or the KTTG plan, which would, both of those would be required to do what this Tranquil Way bypass is now doing. In order to do either one of those, they would have to cross POA Greenbelt. In order to cross POA Greenbelt, they need 67% vote of all the members to override POA covenants and restrictions, which is impossible. So the two alternative plans are not workable, apparently. So therefore, to me, the simplest solution is to go back to what we had and to enforce some of the county laws that would prohibit the greenways from blocking that road.
So Eric, we understand that, but we're not the county, so what?
I know, but you're a player, so I'm just trying to give you an update.
Yeah, okay.
We are not a player.
But individually, I think that would be my perception, is it's important to educate more of the general public about the reality of the process that has not been followed correctly. And so that would be my encouragement.
Well, I mean, I hear your point, but there are people that argue you're actually wrong.
Right.
You're presuming you're right, and so you're giving your point of view. And there are lawyers who say you're actually wrong.
Well, they refer to RS 2477.
Well, what, you know, I don't know. I haven't been following this case, but I hear your point and I hear the other point. And there are lawyers, including the county lawyer at one point, who says you're actually wrong. But and I don't know how one ever decides this. You take it up to state court, or
Yeah.
But it's not the water board that's going to decide it.
no, but he's filling us in because we gave the parking lot up there for this summer for the test to see how many people, and we are somewhat involved in this.
Well, that's exactly right.
So is it possible? Could you give us some kind of background as to what you've had to be faced with in this? With this particular issue? No,
I mean, we were only asked if we wanted to put parking up at on our land. That's all.
Well, okay, if you don't mind, I'll just say I think that the simplest, keep it simple, stupid principle, the simplest is to keep what we had, which includes the parking lot here, because then you had access for hikers. With the Greenways Road open, you had access for transportation for vehicles. So I would request that you continue to leave that parking lot open, because if you don't, then there's a problem that otherwise could easily be solved.
What was that?
Is this the parking lot right above the tank?
Yes.
Right next to the tank.
Where the porta-john is?
Yes.
Right.
So the parking easement is...
It's subject to a letter agreement that expires at the end of this season this year, and it just allowed for a study. Now, it had nothing to do with the Greenway Road. The whole purpose that we were told for the study was to determine how much traffic, foot, and vehicle was being used to access the Cottonwood Creek Trail. And so we were asked to put some signage on our property where our plant is, as well as a little parking area for people to park, which is what we did. At no point has there been any discussion about that study leading down to the green or having anything to do with the Greenway, or for the purpose of looking at that. We've not wanted to get into that, but our letter agreement just says that they can put that signage and that parking, and that people could access that trailhead.
And we will review it at the end of the period, and so the board has yet to decide about the parking up there. I don't.
Right, it's not a permanent decision. We've not been approached by the U.S. Forest Service for anything beyond what the temporary license agreement was for. But we did allow them to go ahead and access for now 2 seasons so that they could conduct that study. So.
Right.
And so as far as I know, unless we've got any damage up there, there's no reason why we would not continue that.
Thank you for bringing us to our attention.
Thank you very much.
Martin will go to that
Martin,
meeting.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Tom, good morning. Tom, is there anything that you wanted to say this morning?
Good morning.
Good
morning,
Tom.
So we have a conference call with our water lawyer at 11. and
Right.
so
He
shall
said
we-
that the only thing he's going to have for the board is executive session information, no update other than
So we'll
that which
do
would be in
everything we
executive session.
can for the public.
Yeah,
at
so
this point.
with regard to water matters, there is nothing to discuss at this point.
You want to move on to? should we
It was
move on to
interesting that the one
operations
time
then?
when we pushed the time back, it is an indication that why it's good to have an early talk with the lawyer, because we were so fast that we were 2 hours
We were ahead.
ahead,
And
and
then
so
we
we never
missed
got
it.
to talk.
We missed it.
Right.
Stephen, is this a good time to go
Great
ahead
time.
with
Thank you,
operations?
Vicki.
Great.
So if everyone would like to review the report on district operations. Did anyone get one? They're at the front desk.
I got mine.
Did you? No, I got one.
Okay, great.
There it is.
So there were some updates from last month that were a little premature just because of the timing. And so one of the biggest accomplishments that we have completed is the goal of jetting and maintaining 60,000 feet of collection system.
Bravo.
And so that was a big deal, and I'm very proud of the staff, and so really an outstanding accomplishment. And the benefits will be, again, just to reiterate, that once we've located the manholes at this point, we've marked them with T-posts that are painted green. In the future, that cleaning and maintenance operation will go even more quickly because there's a lot of time spent in just finding the manholes. So we're on our way to a system that's being properly maintained. So that's something that we can be very proud of.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I would just request actually that you pass the board's kudos on to all the staff, because this is
Great.
really huge for
Yeah.
us in terms
It's a big step.
of maintaining the investment that we have.
Yes, it is. And on that note, we have also completed the fire hydrant maintenance, and we have repaired one fire hydrant and replaced two. So we took fire hydrants that we had from the improvement that was done on Skyview. We rebuilt those and then we put them back in the ground. Each fire hydrant to purchase new is about $1,800. Each of the new ones that we're putting in, the new rebuilt ones, we're also putting in a gate valve so that they can be isolated from the system, and then you don't have the issues with widespread service interruptions when we have to go in and maintain them. So good steps in the right direction on that. So if we go down to projects, Soda Ash project, that installation is complete and has been online and in operation since September 12th.
Yay!
Yeah, yay, and
Crowd goes wild.
Please reflect. The crowd goes wild.
So technically, it's even dissipated out of the system.
well, based on comments from Stephen Rogers, who was an ORC here, 3 years ago or 2.5 years ago, and his associates who did some study of that OPP and its dissipation, they suggested that it might take about a month.
Okay.
So we are going to begin a analysis of lead and copper at the 20 sites, and at some point we may be able to do some phosphate analysis as well. We do have a background phosphate in our drinking water that's about 0.22 milligrams per liter, and so we could probably...
And that's from the rock.
That's just
Right,
the
that
raw
comes
water.
out of the ground.
Yeah, it's just background phosphate. So we can do some analysis and give you an update. It won't necessarily be a scientific one, but we may be able to give you some kind of indication. But for a fact, we've not been using polyphosphate as a treatment technique since September 11th
Right.
this year.
So if there was any residue, it'd be so minute.
It's an unknown, really. It's an unknown, but I think the most important thing is that we're not using it as a treatment technique. And that, I hope, is something that will be celebrated by the community, and we can move on. So we're getting ready to enhance the study again with the lead and copper, and we will also be doing some pipe loop rig testing on various other types of treatment. And so all of that's going to be implemented in the next 4 to 6 weeks. And
is that a part of the corrosion? Pardon me for interrupting.
Yes, it is.
A part of the
It's
corrosion
part of the
control study. Okay.
Yes, it is. That will ultimately result in a OCCT, which is the optimal corrosion control technique, that will be recommended by our engineer. So,
now when we do that study, we'll have to test all the various methods of corrosion control, and then we can based on the data, make a determination of which method is optimal.
Right. But didn't Ron's letter request, Ron the engineer's letter, Ron McLaughlin's letter to the state, didn't he request that the state basically approve that we not test the use of OPP?
He did. He specifically put in there that we,
Now, we don't know if they've approved that.
Right. He asked the state to give us a waiver on even having to include OPP in the test.
Yeah.
Because there is that chance that if we test OPP, that the data could yield results indicating that's the optimal treatment method. And obviously, we would rather not even
go down the
use
road.
that. Right.
So
he's requesting, the state has not gotten back with us on that.
Well, and since we've already had it in the system.
Well, that does, the fact that we've had it in the system, that data may be able to be used in the study, because we already have data as to, the results of OPP.
Right.
But the thing is, if that works better than anything else we test, then the data would indicate that that's the optimal treatment. But we have to do these other tests, and again, we're asking the state to exclude OPP from the test altogether.
so it won't be on the table.
So
if I would like to move on here under projects, water meter MXU upgrades, that's in process. The well 1718 is mostly complete with the exception of the electricians coming to the district at the end of this month and hooking up the VFD and the new well. And so that will take place on the 29th through the 2nd of November. The fire hydrant maintenance, that's complete. The collection system maintenance, complete. The GPS GIS of manholes, that's in process. The Shoemade boost station is also in process. If you go to page 3, you can see the gallons pumped for September, and that we have met our, we are compliant with our total call form. And then if you keep going to page 4, you'll see under Casita Park continued, the number of gallons pumped, that the district is in compliance with the total call form. Then we have just the total amount of water that we pumped, the total amount of wastewater that we treated at the very bottom of page 4. Top of page 5.
So that is essentially water that's going back into the water table.
The wastewater treated does go back into the water table, somewhere on the ranch, on the refuge. Yes. Top of page 5, the Aspen wastewater treatment plant is in compliance. And so we have no effluent discharge violations. And you can also see that in September, our ammonia limit is 2.6 milligrams per liter, and our discharge is 0.8 milligrams per liter. That's at the bottom of page 5.
How does the limit change month to month?
The temperature.
Ah, okay.
And then on the back page, we just have kind of a listing of who's certified, what their certifications are, and then we run through the district infrastructure. Every now and then we're adding in a manhole. a fire hydrant, because we're installing new ones. And then you have your transfer stations listed down here on the left, close to the bottom, your booster stations. And then at the very bottom, we have late charges, customer complaints, and our safety consultant was mobilized out in Alabama on a FEMA emergency, and so we did not have him for a safety meeting.
And are there any penalties or anything like that associated with that? I mean, do we do that for
No,
us?
I did that.
Okay.
I did a pep talk on safety, and so that accomplished it.
I would check that, yes.
Yeah,
Unless there's a.
it's just not as thorough
Okay.
as when he comes with his. What we're doing is we're building a library of safety meetings that we'll be able to plug in. Eventually, we'll just be able to plug them into the computer, project them on the screen, it runs us through it, and so it's got 24 of them, and we'll just be able to rotate the